You're not lazy, you're not lost. You're just exhausted from thinking so much and still feeling stuck. The more you try to figure things out, the heavier it gets. You wake up each morning with that same feeling: confusion, frustration, and no real direction. You've got the will, but what you need is the right way to think. This video isn't here to give you cliches or empty motivation. It's here to teach you how to think powerfully and correctly, based on Stoicism, an ancient philosophy that helped ordinary people endure extraordinary hardship. It won't promise an easy life, but it will give you back control, starting with the one thing you truly own: yourself. If you've been searching for a way out, not out there but in here, this might just be the turning point. What you're about to learn won't just shift your mindset. It could change your life from the inside out. Number 1. See beyond the present. You've been misled, not by some enemy, not by bad luck, but by the very culture you're surrounded by. You've been told to live for the moment, seize the day, and do what makes you happy right now. It sounds wise, even poetic, but when taken blindly, that mindset is a trap. It breeds impatience, short-term thinking, and a restless heart. The Stoics never told you to ignore the present, but they also never meant for you to be a slave to it. They believed in living fully in the present while serving the future. A tree doesn't rise toward the sky unless it first buries its roots deep into the dark, silent ground. So the question is, are you planting roots or just waiting for fruit? Success doesn't bloom from urgency. Take Netflix, for example. In 1997, they were a humble DVD rental service by mail. Small, unremarkable, forgettable. No hype, no headlines. They lost money for years. They even tried to sell themselves to Blockbuster for $50 million and got rejected. Most companies would have folded right there, called it quits, and blamed the market. But Netflix held the line. They pivoted to streaming long before the world was ready. They poured money into original content when it seemed like a losing game. Not because they were reckless, because they saw further, not with their eyes, but with a long-term mindset. The Stoics lived by that same lens. They knew that instant gratification is the enemy of meaningful progress. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Dig within. Within is the wellspring of good, and it is always ready to bubble up if you just dig." But digging takes effort. It's slow, repetitive, and often unrewarding, at least at first. That's why most people settle for surface-level living. They want the harvest, but avoid the planting. Thinking long-term isn't about dreaming, it's about designing. It's not just asking, where do I want to be in 5 years? It's about waking up today and doing something, anything, that brings you 1% closer to that vision. A person without long-term thinking is like a boat with no rudder. Sure, it floats, but it never really goes anywhere. So ask yourself, are you sailing or just drifting? Think about your daily life, the books you read, the people you spend time with, the work you do, the habits you repeat. Are they building something, or are they just helping you forget that you're not where you want to be? Here's a challenge. Write down 3 things you know would change your life if you did them consistently. Now ask, why aren't you doing them? One of the simplest, most practical ways to build a long-term mindset is through a tool I call reverse mapping. Start with the life you want in 5 years. Paint it in vivid detail. Then break it down. What needs to happen in year 4, Year 3, this year, this month, this week, today. When you reverse engineer your dream into daily actions, the path becomes real, tangible. You stop chasing distractions because now you know what matters. The beautiful irony is this: thinking long-term doesn't make you anxious, it sets you free. You're no longer desperate to make it overnight. You're no longer haunted by someone else's timeline. You become deeply grounded in your journey because you finally know where you're going. Each small step becomes sacred, each delay tolerable, each failure a lesson instead of a loss. Here's the truth: patience isn't passive, it's powerful. It means you have enough conviction to stay the course, even when results are invisible, because you understand that real growth is silent. And when you've planted the seed, your job isn't to yank it out and check for progress. It's to water it, protect it, and keep working. But all of this is meaningless if you spend your time blaming circumstances. The harsh truth: life doesn't owe you anything. Complaints don't build futures. That's why the next step is crucial. Stop complaining. Start creating value. Because once you start doing that, every day, no excuses, your future doesn't just shift, it accelerates. Number 2, build more, complain less. People often mistake complaining for release, but in truth, it's a slow anesthetic for your willpower. Every time you complain, you drain the energy you could have used to build something better. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." So why give that power away to things beyond your control? Rent prices, a tough boss, or a shaky economy? The Stoic doesn't panic when facing obstacles. They don't use hardship as an excuse to stand still. They observe, accept reality, and then find a way to turn inconvenience into value. Drew Houston, the founder of Dropbox, had one of those moments. One day on a bus, he forgot his USB stick and couldn't access his work. Most people would groan and complain. Drew asked, "What if I never had to carry a USB again?" That question sparked the idea that became one of the world's leading cloud storage platforms. The same mindset powered Airbnb. In 2007, Brian Chesky and his friend Joe were struggling to pay rent in San Francisco. Hotels in the city were overpriced, especially during conferences. Instead of saying, "This system is broken," they thought, "People have space. Guests need beds. Why not connect them?" They created a simple site called Airbed and Breakfast. No whining, just action. Today, Airbnb is worth tens of billions of dollars and has reshaped the way we travel. The real question is, how much time are you spending complaining about what you haven't done versus doing it? Complaints don't build a future. Action does, and action begins the moment you stop blaming others. Too many people wonder why they're not progressing while spending hours a week explaining to friends how unfair their company is. What if instead you asked, "What can I do to make myself so valuable they can't ignore me?" You don't need to be a tech founder to apply this mindset. It starts with the little things. Stuck in traffic? Instead of cursing at the cars ahead, ask, "How can I turn this into something useful?" Listen to a podcast, learn something, grow. Or when you feel like saying, "I don't have time to learn a new skill," look again. How much time are you giving away to complaints, to excuses, to mental noise that gets you nowhere? Sometimes the real thing holding you back isn't that you're not good enough, it's that you've gotten too good at complaining. Complaining is a subtle habit, dressed up as self-expression, but it doesn't lighten your load, it weakens your drive. Every time you blame your circumstances, you hand over the keys to your future. That's the opposite of Stoic strength, which demands full ownership of your choices, your thoughts, and your actions. The world doesn't reward the best complainers. It rewards those who stare down the problem and ask, "What can I do about it?" As Proverbs says, "In all toil there is profit, but mere talk tends only to poverty." Value is born in effort, not in noise. No matter how poetic your frustrations sound, they won't move you forward. And yes, you can begin practicing this shift today. The next time you're about to complain, pause, breathe, ask yourself, what can I do right now to move this even 1% forward? A phone call, a message sent, a quick brainstorm. One small real action is worth more than 1,000 perfectly worded complaints. Remember this, successful people aren't the ones who have it easy. They're the ones who waste less time complaining and spend more time creating solutions. If you truly want to change your life, start by changing how you respond to what's hard. Not with blame, not with excuses, with value, with motion, with action. And if you're still hesitant, afraid of doing it wrong, that's okay, because mistakes aren't what stop us. That's what our next lesson is all about. Failure isn't scary as long as you learn from it. What is scary is never trying at all. Number 3, turn fails into fuel. There's a popular illusion that holds people back, the idea that failure is the end. That's wrong. Failure isn't a full stop. It's a restart button, this time with more data. Don't just take my word for it. Look at Rovio, the Finnish game company that nearly disappeared from the tech world after releasing 51 forgettable games. Employees quit, finances tanked, and bankruptcy loomed. But they didn't give up. On their 52nd try, they launched another game, Angry Birds. It didn't just succeed, it exploded. 4 billion downloads, animated series, toys, spin-off brands, everywhere. Had they stopped at game number 50, you'd never have heard the name. Their failures didn't vanish. They became the mold for a winning formula. The real question isn't how many times you fall, but what you learn every time you rise. When Nike was just an unknown idea called Blue Ribbon Sports, Phil Knight sold shoes from the trunk of his car. He ran out of money, got rejected for loans, lost suppliers, got sued, and nearly went bankrupt personally. But with every stumble, he learned to adapt faster, negotiate smarter, and choose better people. That string of failures, it was his mental gym. And from it, he built Nike, a global sports icon worth hundreds of billions. Ever wonder why failure leaves such a vivid mark in your mind? It's because that's how your brain learns best. Neuroscientists call it neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself. When you make mistakes and try to fix them, your brain kicks into high gear, forging new connections. In other words, falling short is the most powerful software update your mind gets. The more you trip, the better you get at redesigning your thinking to avoid future errors. Winning comes from being willing to fail and to study your failure. Learning is not a straight line, it's a feedback loop. You act, reflect on the outcome, adjust, then test again, each time sharper than before. If you stop learning from feedback, failure stays failure. But if you use feedback as a mirror, every fall becomes a step up. Startups like Amazon and Spotify live by this loop. Try, fail, analyze, fix, repeat. They don't dodge failure, they fuel their growth by failing smart. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." What blocks your path is your path. Obstacles aren't roadblocks, they're blueprints for reinvention. You don't move forward despite failure, you move forward because of it. That's the mindset of someone who understands how life works. Ask yourself, have you ever quit something just because it didn't go smoothly at first? How many chances have you walked away from because your first attempt flopped? And if you revisit those failures, what would they teach you now? Maybe they're lessons you just haven't finished reading. So, how do you apply this in real life? Every time you fail, write down 3 things. What did you misjudge? How did you react emotionally? What can you do differently next time? Don't let failure fade away without value. Turn it into data. Every response from life carries information. The right information leads to the right action. But make no mistake, failure alone isn't enough. You need conscious failure. Failure doesn't replace effort. It rewards those who persist beyond the fall. Be brave enough to make mistakes, and braver still to correct them. If you don't see yourself failing at anything, maybe you're not trying anything that matters. The real question isn't, how can I avoid being wrong? It's, what am I learning from being wrong? The right mindset doesn't help you dodge failure. It teaches you how to turn it into your foundation. And once you've learned how to grow from every fall, you're almost unstoppable. That's not magic, that's a philosophy. And when you truly understand the value of failure, another question naturally arises. How do I keep growing, no matter the limits? The answer lies in the next lesson, where you'll discover why keep learning isn't just a motto. It's how a Stoic lives fully. Number 4. Learn without limits. You can graduate from school, but learning never ends. That's the truth that many people avoid. They believe knowledge is something you can pack into a few years of university, that once they hold that diploma, they know enough to live and work. But reality hits hard and fast with a simple question: why am I stuck while others keep moving forward? The successful don't start ahead. They simply never stop learning. Learning isn't a phase, it's a lifestyle. And it's not confined to textbooks. It happens through work, from people who are better than you, and from your own mistakes. Take Leonardo da Vinci. He wasn't just a brilliant painter. He taught himself anatomy, mechanics, astronomy, architecture, and left behind over 13,000 pages of notes filled with designs that still humble modern science. He lived each day as a giant experiment to better understand the world. No one told him to do it. He learned because he couldn't not learn, driven by a fire of curiosity that never went out. So, are you living like tomorrow holds something important for you to discover? Kobe Bryant, global basketball icon, didn't just learn how to shoot better. He learned languages, cultures, and filmmaking. He watched old game footage for hours, not out of self-doubt, but out of deep respect for every chance to understand himself more. After retiring, he won an Oscar for the animated film Dear Basketball. He didn't define himself as just an athlete. He defined himself as a lifelong learner. So ask yourself, what labels are you living under that are secretly holding you back? People with real intelligence know how much they don't know. That's the powerful paradox of the Dunning-Kruger effect. The less someone knows, the more they overestimate themselves. Meanwhile, the truly skilled constantly see the gaps in their understanding. Can you ask yourself, where am I fooling myself into thinking I know more than I do? A wise person doesn't have all the answers. They're willing to question the ones they thought were settled. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If anyone can refute me, show me I'm making a mistake or looking at things from the wrong perspective, I'll gladly change." It's the truth I'm after. Not pride, not winning arguments, just the truth. That's the foundation of sound thinking. You don't learn to outshine others. You learn to see the world as it truly is, without filters, without distortion. This mindset leads to what Carol Dweck calls the growth mindset. You don't say, "I'm not good at this." You say, "I'm not good at this yet." That single word, yet, can be the bridge between a limited present and a powerful future. Where are you stuck simply because you believe you're not talented enough? You'd be surprised how many successful people got there through relentless practice, not natural genius. To live with a growth mindset, you don't need grand gestures. Start small. Read 10 pages a day, not to get smart, but to widen your perspective. Spend 15 minutes a week learning a tiny skill, how to use Excel better, write more professional emails, or truly listen without interrupting. Watch someone in your team who's better than you, not to compare, but to learn. When you start thinking like someone who doesn't know enough, the whole world becomes your classroom. Here's the truth. If you're not moving forward today, you're falling behind. Yesterday's knowledge won't save you from becoming outdated. You don't need to be Leonardo or Kobe, but you do need to become a version of yourself that learns every day. So the real question is, what new thing did you learn today? If you're still here, still listening, it means you're ready to answer that question. It means you're not just curious, you're ready to change at the root level, in how you think and how you live. And if this journey is bringing you real value, go further with us. Subscribe to the channel and keep expanding your vision. What's coming next might be the missing piece, and when all the pieces are in place, you'll finally see the full picture you've been searching for all along. Number 5, think like an owner. You're not hired to dream, you're hired to deliver. But if all you ever do is show up, follow orders, and finish on time, sorry, you're just a switch. Flipped on when needed, turned off when done. The danger isn't in what you do, it's in how you see your role. If you see yourself as just a cog in the machine, then that's what you become, spinning in place until you wear out. That's not how Stoics live. They don't let titles or job descriptions define their worth. For them, real power isn't in the paycheck or the org chart. It's in your mindset and your actions, because it's your thinking that shapes your fate. And today, there's a clear dividing line. People who think like owners carve their path. People who think like employees wait to be told where to go. That mindset doesn't wait for permission. It acts like the authority is already yours. It doesn't ask, "Is this my responsibility?" It asks, "How can this be better?" People with an ownership mindset don't chase titles. They don't need applause. They need progress. And that quiet, steady, self-driven progress like an underground current, erodes old limits and opens new frontiers. Look at Jan Koum. No one knew his name until WhatsApp exploded. But before that were years of silence, mopping supermarket floors, living on food stamps. No mentor, no scholarship, no one to guide him. Just a mind that kept asking, if I don't act now, 5 years from now, I'll still be here. So he went to the public library, taught himself to code, trained his thinking, built his future. In a world waiting to be handed a chance, Jan created his own. No salary, no deadline, just hunger. That wasn't just ambition, it was Stoic spirit in action. No self-pity, no blaming poverty, war, or injustice. Jan couldn't control where he came from, but he could control how he responded. He didn't try to change the world overnight. He changed himself first, through discipline, through learning, through relentless self-direction. For Stoics, success isn't luck. It's the inevitable result of accepting reality, staying rational, and taking consistent, unshakable action. So what about you? When work gets dull, do you complain or improve it? When a teammate slips up, do you point fingers or offer a fix? When your boss overlooks you, do you stay quiet or make your value impossible to ignore? Ownership isn't about dreaming of being in charge. It's about acting like the results already belong to you. A good employee gets things done. Someone with ownership sees further. If I improve this process today, we'll save 3 hours a week. That mindset is like a smart investor, focused not on quick wins, but on compounding value. And the compounding effect applies not just to money, but to effort, knowledge, and trust. Want to be trusted like a leader? Start acting like one, even if no one's given you the title. People who own their destiny don't wait to be chosen. They choose themselves. And here's the paradox. Those who do that almost always get the role they deserve, because real value is impossible to ignore. Now, be honest. Have you ever thought, that's not my job? When was the last time you offered an unsolicited improvement? If you can't remember, maybe you haven't been thinking like an owner. Maybe you've just been trying to survive your job instead of using it to build something greater. But right here is where everything can shift. You don't need a title to take ownership of your mindset. You just need to begin today. And when you do, remember this: no one builds an empire alone. No one climbs a mountain solo and survives the summit forever. The people you walk with will decide how far you go. A talented person surrounded by mediocrity will be dragged down. But someone who chooses the right partners won't just succeed, they'll thrive. So ask yourself, who's walking with you? Who pushes you to think bigger, do better, live stronger? Or are you surrounding yourself with people who make you shrink, doubt, and drain your energy? That's the next lesson, and maybe the most important decision you'll ever make. Choose the right people to walk with, because sometimes the person beside you determines how far you'll go. Number 6, choose your circle. Sometimes the people closest to you can become the biggest anchors in your life. Not because they're bad, and not because they want to hold you back, but because they are trapped in a cycle of limitation, fear, and delay. The real danger: the closer you are to them, the more you normalize those limits. Your mind doesn't need to be crammed with negativity, it just needs to be surrounded by it. And slowly, almost invisibly, you start to adapt, like a violin tuning itself to the instruments around it. Picture this: you're rowing a boat. Next to you are 4 other people, also rowing, but in the opposite direction. No matter how strong or driven you are, you're still being pulled back, even if you don't want it, even if you don't notice it. You tell yourself you're just going along for now, but that quiet compromise is costing you speed, clarity, and maybe even your destination. One day, you'll look up and wonder, how did I end up stuck here? Lot's story in the Bible isn't just a dry moral tale, it's a sharp living example of this. Lot wasn't sinful when he chose to live near Sodom. He was just nearby. But over time, he wasn't just near it anymore, he was in the center of it. In a decaying society, he tried to stay upright, but every day he absorbed corruption, injustice, and abuse. Ideals don't vanish in a blaze, they erode in silence. So when the time came to act, he couldn't. An angel had to drag him out. Do you see? Even a righteous person can be worn down by the wrong environment if they choose to settle in the wrong place. So, where are you settling? Back to real life. Some conversations leave you buzzing, your mind lights up, your heart races, and you're ready to take on the world. But others, just 15 minutes and you feel like life is a leaking bag, drained, pointless, stuck. Emotional energy is contagious. Science calls it emotional contagion. One study found that if someone in your social network is happy, your chances of being happy rise by 15%. Even your friends' friends affect your mood. You're not just living your life, you're living in an emotional ecosystem. Here's the scariest part. Negative influence doesn't need your permission. It only needs your silence. All it takes is for you to sit through a complaint, an excuse, a lazy justification without saying a word. Your brain registers that as normal. And before long, you start living that way too, without even realizing it. Maybe you're thinking, but I can't just cut off my friends, co-workers, or family. I can't walk away just because they're not positive. And you're right. Stoicism doesn't teach abandonment, but it does teach this. Distance is a form of love. If someone can't lift you up, don't let them pull you down. Boundaries aren't rejection, they're protection. Like clean air for your lungs, you need clean space for your mind. So here's something practical. Today, write down the names of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Don't overthink, just feel. After each interaction, do you feel stronger or more drained? Do they inspire you or make you second-guess yourself? Do they talk more about dreams or about why nothing works? If that list doesn't reflect who you want to become, adjust it. No one else can do that for you. And there's no better time than now. Choosing the right people isn't selfish, it's responsible. You're training your mind to think clearly. Don't let it get hijacked by someone else's outdated patterns. You're building a solid foundation. Don't let anyone dig beneath it with negativity. If you've ever felt lonely after stepping away from an old crowd, don't worry. That loneliness is space, the space to rebuild your internal compass. The right people will find you if you stay true to the path that's right for you. And when you finally understand that right thinking isn't just about what goes on in your head, but about who you let shape that thinking, you've crossed a major threshold. Don't stop here. Keep going. Toward the final lesson, everything you've learned doesn't just stay on the page or in your mind, but starts to live, move, and reshape you. Because right thinking means nothing if it doesn't lead to right action. And your life only truly changes when you act, not just think. Number 7. Live what you've learned. You can study how to think correctly for as long as you like, but until you live by it, you're still just standing outside the door. That's the hard truth. Knowing isn't understanding, and understanding isn't living. Right thinking isn't about what runs through your mind when reading a book. It's about how you respond when real life falls apart, when you're insulted, when your plans collapse, when emotions flood in and you want to give up. It's in those moments that the truth shows. Are you thinking like a free person, or are you still a slave to your circumstances? Stoicism doesn't promise a smooth life. It teaches you how to walk through storms with a clear head and a steady heart. But here's what most people miss. Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotions, it's about mastering them. It's not armor to make you look tough. It's the inner framework that holds you steady when the world around you shakes. And it only matters if you practice it every day. You can't think your way to Rome. You have to walk step by step through dust, thorns, and missteps. Right thinking won't save you from failure, but it will keep you from staying down forever. The real question isn't, what do I know? It's, what will I do with what I know? You can preach discipline all day, but if you're still staying up late for no reason, you haven't lived it. You can quote persistence, but if you quit before the results show, you don't get it. Right thinking begins when you stop and ask yourself, do my actions reflect what I believe? Some people think changing your life is a dramatic revolution. In reality, it's more like a quiet edit. Each small behavior is a brushstroke. Every thought you choose, every reaction you manage, every time you act despite the urge to procrastinate, they all shape who you become. Change doesn't strike like lightning. It rises like the first morning light after a long night, subtle, slow, and only clear when you've walked far enough. But here's the thing, no one else can walk it for you. You've learned powerful ideas, long-term thinking, taking action over complaining, learning from failure, owning your life, and choosing your circle. But now what? How much of that are you living? Are you still scrolling instead of studying? Still blaming instead of fixing? Still clinging to toxic relationships instead of cutting them off? It's not that you don't know, it's that you haven't decided to live differently. So the final lesson isn't something new, it's this: apply everything you already know. No picking and choosing, no waiting for the perfect moment. There's something most people overlook. The more you learn, the more tempted you are to just keep learning instead of doing. Knowledge becomes a hiding place, but Stoicism wasn't made to be admired. It was made to be tested. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." That's the heart of right thinking, not just knowing what's right, but having the guts to live it, even when no one's watching. You don't need another theory. You need a commitment, a promise that from today on, you won't just think right, you'll act right in the smallest of choices, that you'll close the gap between what you know and what you do, that you'll stop waiting for perfect conditions, stop saying, "I'm not ready," and start using what you already have to sharpen who you are. You've learned, you've understood. Now it's time to act like someone who gets it. Get up, stop getting ready, cut the noise, say no to laziness and delay. Keep the promises you make to yourself, even the smallest ones. Because every action you take is a vote for the person you want to become. And step by step, you won't just think right, you'll live right. And that's what will truly change your life. We've just walked through 7 core principles, not abstract ideas, but real practical keys that can truly reshape your life. Thinking long term, so you're not just surviving day to day. Letting go of complaints and choosing to create value instead. Seeing failure not as the end, but as your most powerful teacher. Committing to lifelong learning because you are always a work in progress. Adopting an ownership mindset, even if you're not the one in charge. Choosing your companions wisely because who walks beside you shapes who you become. And above all, applying it all. Not in theory, but in your daily actions, your habits, your choices. Maybe something stirred in you as you listened. I can live differently. If so, hold on to that feeling. Don't let it fade like all the other fleeting moments of inspiration. Because the moment you act, imperfectly but sincerely, you've already begun to change. If this video resonated with you, give it a like. It's the best way to let me know this message has found someone who truly needed it. And don't forget to leave a comment. Which of the 7 lessons struck a chord with you the most? I'd genuinely love to hear your reflections and grow together on this path. Thank you for staying with me until the end. Thank you for listening, not just to my voice, but to your inner voice. I'll see you in the next video, where we'll keep sharpening our minds, strengthening our character, and learning not just how to think right, but how to live right.